Hello, my name is Kindson and today we are going to discuss what you need to know about enterprise mobile services. Mobile services affect almost everybody living on this planet, but today we are going to discuss enterprise mobile services. Mobile services refers to services provided by network operators in conformance with the GSM standards. Remember, GSM means Global System for Mobile Communication. Mobile services provided by an enterprise to its employees is referred to as enterprise mobile services. Sometimes it's called mobility services. So if you are using an official mobile device or an official mobile line, most likely you are consuming enterprise mobile services. There are three basic categories of mobile services we are going to consider, and one of them is the telephony services, also called the teleservices for short. And this is related to your voice calls when you make and receive calls, and that is telephony services. We also have data services, also called bearer services. It's related to data using your phone to access the internet, to check your emails, and other related data services. We also have supplementary services, services that are not voice or data. It may be related to closed user groups, etc. So let's look at why we need to have a good way to manage enterprise mobile services. The reason is because the operations on the mobile service grows exponentially with the number of mobile devices in the organization. What I mean is this: if you have one organization, you have a number of employees, you have an amount of mobile devices more than the number of employees, and for each mobile device you have a number of services attached to that mobile device, and then we have several operations that can be carried out in each of the mobile services. So for instance, we have data services, we have two operations. You can think of maybe ton of data and ton on data. So for one single service you can have more than one operation. So you have thousands of operations. There must be an efficient way to manage the mobile services as well as the operations carried out on them. Now there is an architecture that is normally used for managing mobile services in an organization, and this is normally referred to as 6-layer model. What it means is that the end user generates a request, somebody raises a request and says, I can't make call today. Okay, this request comes to the moves from the end user to the enterprise support layer. The enterprise support layer is simply the personnel in charge of mobile services in the organization, normally the head of the mobile services desk. Okay, this personnel here in the organization now raises a request in form of an email to the network operations support layer. And this is personnel in the network operator's end. It may be MTN or Glo or whatever network is being subscribed to. And then the personnel there, not really a technical personnel, raises a ticket to the next layer, which is the equipment support layer, and then onto the intelligent network layer, onto the data sub layer. So here in the data sub layer is where the actual change is made, and then the request is effected. I would like to demonstrate how it really works. So here I've prepared this brief animation to help you understand what happens. So we have this envelope here represents a request made by the user. So stage 1, a request made by the user comes to this desk, which is actually me, and then the next thing that happens is I move this request straight to the network operations support, which is an MTN personnel or a Glo personnel or a T-Salat personnel, as the case may be. What they do is they're also sitting behind a monitor screen and they raise a ticket, and that ticket moves to the next layer, which is the network equipment support layer, which may be personnel of organizations like Ericsson or Huawei and other support teams. Then from there it moves to the intelligent network layer. This is actually an automated layer that actually carries out the task. After carrying out verification, this task is carried out, and on from the intelligent network layer to the data sub-layer where the actual change is made and the request is carried out. So this is a very long process. For me, sitting in the enterprise support layer, I don't actually have control over what happens in the 4 layers below. So that is one problem we have today when a request is made and the user can only relate with me, whereas I don't really have any control over what is happening here. And that is why the 3-layer model has been developed, whereby the end user raises a request and the enterprise support personnel in the company is able to resolve it by passing through an automated layer called the web service interface layer and on to the data sub-layer, and then the request is carried out. But this architecture framework has not been fully adopted. So this is how it goes from this place. It goes on to the data sub-layer. It's called the 3-layer model. Okay, let's put out this and continue with our presentation. So this is what I just explained with this animation, and also we have the 3-layer model explained here. Let's take a look at time it takes to effect a service request. Ideally, it should take a few minutes to effect a service request. What it means is that if you request by email or by phone call, you call me or somebody in the office and tells him, I'm not able to access my email, it should take about 5 to 10 minutes to effect this request. So let's look at a few services and what really is involved in affecting these services, operations in these services. The first one we are going to look at is new line provision, also called SIM replacement. We have data plan activation. We also have international call activation, roaming activation, and BIS activation, which is currently deprecated and not in use right now. So what happens when a user requests for a new line? Maybe a new employee comes and fills a form and needs a new line. One thing I want to let you know is that this is the process of enabling a blank SIM with a particular mobile number. So sometimes when you have your SIM card, you think that the SIM card actually contains the number. No, the SIM card and the mobile number, they are two completely different things. In my office, we maintain a pool of numbers. These numbers are called MSISDN. We maintain a pool of numbers, and also we maintain a collection of SIM cards or blank SIM cards. SIM stands for Subscriber Identity Model. So if we want to provide a new line for a user, we simply take one of the lines from the pool of numbers and match it with a blank SIM card. Of course, a SIM card has a SIM serial number. So this match is made and updated in a database known as the mobility database. This is a very important database, and once this is affected and updated, the SIM becomes active. So how does it work? I simply send an email to the network operations support layer. Remember, the network operations support layer, maybe we'll take a look, is this layer here, which is a personnel in the network operator's office. So what I do, I raise a mail, dear XYZ, please replace SIM. I specify the number and also the SIM serial and optional details specified, and then they do it. But sometimes it takes forever. It takes 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes days to effect. So the problem is, why is it taking so much time? The reason is not clear. I don't just know. The problem is I don't even have control over what happens in the lower layers. So what I'm saying in effect is, from this layer 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't have control. Can only send a ticket or an email from here to here. So every time there is a delay, take note that the lower layers I don't have control. The problem is coming from, or the delay is coming from, somewhere else. We have data plan activation. For you to use your phone to access data, to access your email, to check your weather forecast, to access the internet, you need mobile data. Mobile data is also called packet data. Now for the three major networks in Nigeria, this is the cost. MTN, we have 1,000 naira for 1.5 gig. Equivalent of the same amount gives you 3.2 gig for Glo, and so on and so forth. So you need to know which network is strong at the location you are, which network is very much active in the location you are, and that most likely will give you the needed efficiency in your use of data. IDD stands for International Direct Dialing, also called International Subscriber Dialing. ISD, it allows you to place calls to destinations outside your home country. So if you are in Nigeria and you want to call Italy or France or Germany or whatever country you want to call, and you are able to do it, it means that IDD is activated on your line. By default, IDD is not activated on all lines, but is activated based on requests. The reason is because cost of international calls are always higher than local calls, and charges depends on the destination country. Roaming. Roaming is another important concept in telecommunications. Roaming refers to the ability for a cellular customer to automatically use mobile services while in a location other than his home location. The new location is referred to as a visited location. So if you travel with your mobile phone with a SIM card inside from Nigeria to Italy, you will not be able to make calls unless roaming is activated. Roaming generally incurs higher costs than normal local services. If you are using an official line, it may be necessary to inform the mobile services unit about the duration of your travel and also the country that you'll be traveling to enable them activate it and then deactivate as the case may be. Now we also have credit limit review. For all enterprise lines assigned, there is a credit limit assigned. The credit limit is the amount of charge you are allowed to accumulate for 1 month. The limit renews at the beginning of the month. So for every line, there is a credit limit or an upper threshold that you cannot exceed. If you get to this threshold, what happens? You simply cannot place calls and therefore need to contact the mobile services desk in your company. What happens if you did not exhaust your limit before the end of the month? Nothing happens. It renews at the beginning of the month and it doesn't accumulate. So if you have a credit limit of 10,000, at the end of the month you've used 5. At the beginning of the new month you will not be having 10 plus 5, no. You have 10,000. The 5,000 that remains will simply go into the pool. Who authorizes the credit limit review? It's simple, the guy that pays for it. It may be the project manager or your head of department. We also have another important concept I would like to explain, and that is CUG or Closed User Group. This allows members of the group to make and receive calls from users within the group without being charged. So there is an illusion that individuals within the closed user group make free calls, meaning that the credit does not get deducted. However, a given amount is paid to the network operators at each period of time, possibly at the end of every month or at the beginning of every month. A particular sum is paid for the group. So individual members of the group are not charged. So for employees making use of corporate lines, it may be necessary to always make calls to fellow employees who are in the group. So how long does it take to process a request? This analysis is carried out for 3 years, 2013 to 2015. We have the time in minutes specified here. So for a SIM swap or SIM replacement, it should be taking 21 minutes. Although these are actually theoretical, but we have this to be realistic, 245 minutes. That should be about let's say 4 hours to get it done. Let's get to something else. How much do you spend on calls in a month. A few analysis has been carried out from 2013 to 2015, and we have 4 categories of users. We have officers, we have managers, we have department heads, we have VIPs. So for officers we have below 10,000 naira. For managers we have about 10,000. For department heads we have somewhere above 20,000. For VIPs we have somewhere above 40,000 naira every month. So this is actually how it works. I've made up these 5 hints on reducing the cost of calls you make. One of them, the most important, is for you to use your desk phone whenever possible. Take note that your desk phone can also make calls to cell phones. Alright, let's take a little review on what we've learned so far. IDD or ISD has to do with placing an international call, and then you're able to call from your home location to other countries. Roaming allows you to place and receive calls with your mobile phone when you travel to other countries. 4G is an IP-based mobile technology that allows for higher speed of data up to 100 megabits per second and above. So this technology supports only IP-based communication. The maximum amount a subscriber is allowed to use for a period of time, usually 1 month, is called the monthly credit limit. So for difference between 4G, 3G, LTE, in fact between 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, LTE, Edge, GPRS, you can click on the link there, and that takes you exactly to the video that explains the difference between all of these concepts. LTE is a standard developed by ETSI to improve speeds, getting up to speed of 300 megabits per second. Edge is a low speed technology used in the days of GSM in the early days to improve speed of data and support speed of less than 1 megabits per second. Data services I've mentioned allows you to access internet and data using your mobile device. The closed user group allow for low cost or free calls between members of the group with a particular amount paid for the period. This is how we come to the end of this presentation. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and please check back as I will make a different presentation explaining in details some of these concepts.